No doubt we are going to get you hooked with this episode. Welcome inside another edition of the Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns alongside Mack Brown and Vince Young. I'm Bob Ballou. Thank you for joining us. We have an unbelievable show today. Anytime you want to get this podcast, you can find it anywhere you get your podcast, on Apple, Spotify. You can watch us on YouTube, or you can go rate and review us at the Stampede UT. I say it's a great show. We're going to answer some more of your questions this week, some more good questions that you guys have sent in on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and other, or X, I should say, sorry, X, and some of those places. And as always, if you want to rate and review us again, it's at the Stampede UT. All right, we're going to talk a little what's going on now after spring football is over, what exit interviews look like, answer some of those questions. But this show today has an unbelievable guest as we welcome in, a modern day miracle, Jordan Shipley, Longhorn legendary wide receiver who almost lost his life in a fire 4 months ago, is going to join the show and tell us a little bit about what happened, how he went through that, but also talk some football with these guys, because I know that's what they love to do as well. But it's an unbelievable story. We're so lucky Jordan's still here, and I know both you guys are excited to get to talk to him today.
I'm so lucky that he's here and he'll share with us.
Yeah.
And Vince and I we both have stories and so much admiration for him that he's one of a kind. He's one of the strongest men I've ever met, one of the strongest men of faith I've ever met. Great father, great husband, great leader in the community, and he's got it all. And we're just so lucky he's still here with us and here today.
Yes, and happy Cinco de Mayo. I see y'all got my colors on.
Yeah.
I'm representing. Shout out to all my Spanish brothers and sisters out there. I love you. Yeah, but Shipley is one of the guys that I still kind of frown up about because I really wanted to throw a post route to that guy in the end zone in DKR, man. I still to this day, but I'm so happy, and everything is happening for a miracle for him, the things that he went through. So I'm looking forward to hearing from him and seeing his face today.
No doubt. Vince, I'm looking around your setup there. I don't see any chips and salsa. I don't see a margarita. Are we missing something?
Yeah, I already ate that, and I took a shot of
Okay.
tequila already. So, I am feeling good this morning with my coffee and tequila.
I love it. Good stuff. Okay, let's talk a little football. We're out of spring football now.
Speaking of what you do after spring football, other than tequila and chips, salsa.
You get a 2-week window, right?
Yeah.
You get your 2 weeks away from football, and that's it. No, but now that spring football is over, one of the things that Steve Sarkisian has talked about now that he's removed from it and he's done all the exit interviews is how happy he was that the exit interviews were normal exit interviews where he could actually talk to the players. We weren't negotiating money. We weren't talking about, are we going to transfer or not transfer? As a coach, it's got to be just a total delight to not have to worry about all that other stuff, but be able to just say, hey, here's some of the things we need to work on. You're in our program for another, 8 months, 9 months, and let's go do this thing.
Yeah, after our MJNM event last week, I flew to Atlanta and played in the Peach Bowl Classic golf tournament with a bunch of current and ex-coaches. And it's a fun 2 days because you get to catch up with a whole lot of friends. Every current coach said the happiest I am right now is we don't have a portal after spring. Because last year I was sitting there negotiating with players, and this year you're saying you did this well, but you need to fix this. Got to do better in the weight room. So you actually bring a nutritionist in, talk to them about what Vince needs to do to eat differently, and is he showing up? Is he weighing in and out every day? Then you bring the strength coach in and say, where are his strengths? And I never use the word weaknesses. I thought it was awful. So I use concerns. So here's what Vince does well in the weight room. Here are his concerns. What do you do academically? You bring the academic counselor in and say, Vince, to graduate, you've got to get this done this spring. You need these 3 classes this summer, and let's get you ready for the draft because we want you to be out of here and get your degree because it's so hard to come back afterwards. And then you talk to them about on the field. Here are the things that you're doing really, really well. You got to get better in this area. You're not catching the ball cleanly enough. So let's go figure out how we get these things done that you're not doing well over the summer, because we need to start with those things fixed before we start in August. And it's just, there's a discretionary period where the NCAA says you got to take a couple of weeks and you can't do anything with any coaches or trainers or strength coaches. You can't require a player to do something. The Vince Youngs of the world, the great ones, were like Olympic athletes. They went and worked anyway. They didn't care. And he was going to work every day, whether some coach stood there and made him do it or not. And the ones that don't do that anymore fall behind. And that's just a big part of it. But I do think that you talk to your leaders, you talk to your leadership committee, which we mentioned, you bring those guys in and say, you need a leader in each of your position rooms. So Vince was the leader in the quarterback room. He taught Colt how to lead. That was one of his jobs. He led them. But Vince was the leader of the offense and really the team. So you'd have maybe Cedric Benson was the leader in the running back room. David Thomas was the leader in the tight end room. All those guys would meet and say, okay, who's doing right? Who do we need to pick up? Who's staying out too late? Who's drinking too much? All right, let's bring them in and let's talk to them. And that's when you have a great player-led team. All of those things right now are happening. And they're really important now, maybe more than ever before, because Vince knew his team. Sark's got 43 new players. So can Cam be a leader coming in from Auburn as a wide receiver this quickly? Or does he need to work on that over the summer and then work into being a leader as the fall starts? It's a different time, but this period is more important now than I think ever before.
And Vince, as we talk about leadership, I want you to go back into those moments where you knew, like, I mean, I think you came in with some of that swag, some of that, like, I can do this, but you had to learn from Chris Sims. You had to learn from Chance Mock. Um, but you, as much as we can say there are leaders in different positions, like you said, I know there are. But in the end, so many times it really is the quarterback that sets the tone for everything. He's the guy that touches the ball every play. He's the guy that leads the locker room. Is that a fair pressure, or whatever word you want to use, to put on the quarterback? That needs to kind of be his job, right? Like, you look at Arch Manning, he needs to be the guy. There are other guys. Colin Simmons is the guy. Trevor Gooseby is the guy. You have Cam Coleman is the guy. But in the end, isn't it on the quarterback to be that guy?
Yeah, I mean, you set the tone as a quarterback position, but you also call you guys that that they have that kind of, like, the guys respect them, right? Like Selvin Young. If I say, Selvin, hey man, I'm gonna need you to help me, like, hey, this is what we finna be doing in the summer. And I'm gonna need attendance, and I'm gonna need this, I'm gonna need that. I'm gonna need you. I'm gonna need, certain guys that's in the group that guys respect on the team. If they say something, you're gonna listen. So me, as I started off with me and Rob Wright was another guy that a lot of people paid attention to and respected a lot. Um, and we get together before coach and them gave us our, what we need to do as a team. And then we have a following meeting that's players only meeting. And then we get up there, like all the leaders will get on the stage, I mean, in the team meeting room, and we'll say pretty much the same thing coach is saying, but we'll say, "Hey, but this is how we need to do this. Hey, we're gonna be doing 707 in the summertime here at this time. I need everybody attendance. Some days we're gonna be playing Texas State. Some days we're gonna go drive down to A&M. I'm gonna need everybody in attendance because we don't want to go anywhere by ourselves, just in case something happened fighting wise or whatever. We want to be going as a team. So you're talking about a lot of these things. Who's going to be there? Hey, if y'all guys are leaving and you might want to stay, go to summer school, which we did. We went to summer school in the summer instead of going home and getting in trouble. We was on campus going to school anyway, trying to, like Coach said, get ahead in our books just in case somebody do leave early or we want to graduate. So we stayed on campus and got more hours in our books. And then we was, in the training room with our strength coach, training, working out. Like Coach said, what do you need to work on the weaknesses? This is the only time you can work on your weaknesses. You ain't got no time in the season to work on your weaknesses. So me, my short game, I had to get better in my short game. I had to get better in my three-step drop, getting the ball more in front of them. So I threw a lot of that. I went back and watched film on myself, things that I did bad that I could do better at, and I worked at it in the off season. And that's the only time you can do it. And you got to have attendance. That's the main thing. If you don't have attendance, then you're going to have a mediocre year. And like Coach said, and like we've been saying on some of these interviews and 30 for 30s, we actually was all there. Everybody came from the offensive line and seeing offensive line and D line at 707 going up against each other, working on drills to get better. That's amazing. You don't see that, and like Coach said, you don't see that anymore. So as a team this year, they have to take that notes from us guys like DJ that goes there and talk to him, myself, Casey Stunner, they have to put in the extra work because of the bonding situation they gotta do. If you're not gonna do it, then you're gonna have a mediocre year, you're gonna see the offsides, you're gonna see the holding penalties. You're gonna see a lot of that because you don't get that bond like we did, that we was not transferring. We stayed together all year to get better and push each other the whole summer. So, Arch and the rest of his guys and Coleman, them guys, they're gonna have to figure it out as to a point, like, how do I keep the guys together? And how do we get these extra work in, even though we gotta do off-season training with coach them, but what we need to do extra though to keep that bond, like, we used to go eat together after we got done training. We used to just do stuff to stay together to get that bond and chemistry. So, I really feel like if they do them type of things, their season would, be where they wanna be at because of the extra things from leadership standpoint.
And Bob, just a couple of things to add to that. If we had a bad practice and I said, "Hey, that didn't work. This isn't it," in, I'd leave. Then Vince and Studdard would get up and say, "Hey, you idiots! Here's what he said," and they'd say it a lot more aggressively than I would, and it would make its point. Next, one of the iconic moments in our national championship year and in Texas football history is Vince getting the entire team to go out and work after they'd already worked out all day before the Ohio State game in the summer, in that heat at night. And what Vince would do, for instance, is call Selvin Young, who's the head of the running back room, say, "Get you guys there." He'd call Studdard and say, "I want them all there, Studdard. Get them there." And that's what the leadership committee does. It's just the internal part of guys that worked so hard and had so much respect that all the other guys were going to listen. And the other thing we were just talking about, Vince cutting up about the drinking, uh, discretionary time is a really dangerous time
Yeah,
because when the guys are structured, they don't get in trouble. But when they go home, their friends don't have the same standard that they have at school.
correct.
So they may be out in different places and do different things.
And it's the thought, I just want to get away for a little bit.
You
and just
do.
something
It's
different.
okay. Nobody's watching me. Well, everybody's watching. Everybody's a reporter. Now they've
Always.
all got cameras.
Always watching.
And the other thing is that not everybody has to act like a college football player. You can't be out running around going to parties. And we used to have a saying, nothing ever happens good after midnight. And if you look, 99% of the kids that get in trouble or get hurt are after midnight because somebody's drinking. There's some fight. And now people shoot you. It's different than it used to be. It used to be a fight. So that's where Sark and these coaches every minute of every day are saying, stay out of trouble, man. Be careful. Eat right when you go home. You big guys, don't eat grease, and you haven't been eating it for 6 months, you'll get
Right.
sick. And then the last thing is just we talked about Sorsby with the gambling. Every coach in America called every one of his assistants and emailed all the parents and said, talk to your son about gambling. When something comes up that happens bad on a team, everybody says, uh-oh, don't, if you're thinking about it, get away from it, man. It's not going to work. So that's all the things that are keeping Sark awake as we speak.
Yeah,
Long 3 months ahead.
Long 3 months.
3 months
Long.
ahead.
We
to get
used
back
to
on this.
even say, let's get till Saturday.
Yeah.
If we can get till Saturday without anybody getting in trouble, without anybody getting hurt, with everybody upbeat and ready to go, and how much you hit during a week and have them fresh on Saturday. It's and if some freshman is rushing Vince and Vince is throwing, he falls into him, breaks his thumb because he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know how to practice. I mean, it's being a head coach in college is a load. There's a whole lot of things going on that you've got to handle at all times.
And it's very important, that message, what coach left us with. You know, after that team meeting, he said, you know, don't jeopardize anything that we have good going. And that was the message that when coach and them left the room, it was us. Okay, the players is us to ingrate it into everybody. Hey man, we're not telling you not to go home and enjoy yourself with your mom and your family. You deserve that. But what we're saying is have a plan when you do. When that friend or somebody or that girlfriend or whoever may be asks you for you do something else, you're gonna have to have a plan because don't nobody understand the impact that you have for your team if something was to happen. And we don't want that happen for you. Just as the situation with the quarterback in Texas Tech. We don't want him to go through that.
Right.
No.
So it's now us as leaders in team. Like when we leave, or if anybody's saying they finna leave for the weekend, make sure you check in. Make sure you let us know if you're all right, if you need anything, because we're here as brothers. So make sure you have a plan for whatever you're doing. So that message is big on that exit. Letting guys go do what they need to do for their family or whatever it may be.
And I would say, guys, use me.
Yeah.
Say I can't go. He won't let me. I'm going to lose my scholarship. I'm going to lose my opportunity to play. So use me as an excuse, because it's hard to tell all your buddies that don't have the same rules you have that you can't do that. Not against you, but I can't go out and drink. I can't be in that place. I can't be public. That's just one of the things that happens. And I think that's so important as you look at it. And I used to tell the team, we're the only ones that can mess this up. We've discovered the enemy. It's us. So if we don't mess this up, we're really good. And this will be something you'll remember the rest of your life. I used to say, if you've got a drink, wait till you get through, man. You got the rest of your life to have a drink. You don't have to do it before Saturday's game. So let's be smart. What helps our team win?
And if you look at the structure and the talent on this Texas roster, and there's a ton of it, you would like to think it sets up for them to have that leadership in place. I mean, if you look at some of the ESPN and CBS NFL mock drafts, they've got 4 Texas Longhorns in the top 13 of the draft next year. So those 4 guys already know I've got an opportunity to be a literal top 10 pick in the NFL draft, if not number 1, number 2, number 3. So I've got to be that guy. So that's the first part. Then those guys can portray that to the other guys and say, hey, look, it's Arch Manning and Cam Coleman and Colin Simmons and Trevor Gooseby in that top 10. So those guys can say, guys, yeah, I mean, look at us. We have all this stuff in front of us, but you do too, because everybody on that Texas roster has talent. So you would think the structure, Sark has put a good culture in place. They've done this for 5 years now, but you would think everything's set up for this to run really well over the side. It's not to say, I mean, everybody's human, but it seems like everything's set up in a really good way for this program right now.
Well, it's just like when Vince and I were at practice last year, Sark was yelling, no pre-snap penalties, no post-whistle penalties. They got to do it.
Yeah.
They got to listen.
Yeah.
Vince said sometime the coach can say it. Players got to do it.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen, and I heard it. I watched it being coached. So, and then we used to say, if you're either coaching it or let it happen.
Mm-hmm.
So Sark's saying that those assistant coaches have to make it happen. They got to make it work, and there's got to be some consequences. If you jump off sides, if you have a false start, come over here and sit with me. We can't afford you to have a false start. We're just not going to do that. And that's where, again, your leaders come in. Vince would say, keep your mouth shut and listen. Watch the ball. I mean, how hard is it to watch the ball? That's all you have to do.
We used to just, if somebody jumped and did that, we used to just do up downs right in front of everybody.
Yep. And we, at one point, Vince, we were making them run a lap.
Exactly.
And then if they fight, we made them hold hands and run a lap together. It's really an interesting time at that time. But I did think if you just
I would have liked. Hold on, I would have liked to have seen that. Now, let's not just gloss over that.
There was a reason you didn't see it. That was it. We didn't let you out there to see it. But it'd be so embarrassing. It said, you want to embarrass yourself? Go embarrass yourself some more and come on back. What's a fight? All a fight can do is help you break a hand. And then the other thing we used to punching helmets. And you darn sure didn't want to take it off.
Right.
Then you get your nose hit. So we also used to say, if somebody get in a fight, we say, everybody back up and let them fight until they get tired and they'll quit.
Right.
Don't jump in there, because that's a 15-yard penalty and you get kicked out of the game. Yeah. Does it help us win the game? But I thought, and Vince and I have talked about some of these, Arch is a leader now. He leads in a different way, but he's got some emotion. And you see it coming out in times.
No doubt.
They're so lucky that Trevor Goolsby and Connor Robertson came back. That's 2 older guys at a position of need where that offensive line needs to step up. And then you've got guys like Cam Coleman. How quick can he become a leader on a team that he didn't know anybody when he got here a few months ago?
From what Sark said at the beginning of spring ball, that was immediate.
Yeah,
which I think is great. That's your hope.
It's your hope, and he's got the summer to do it too. Vince did so much in the summer because you don't have as much class stress. You can go practice all day. You can play. You can go out and eat dinner. You can go to a bowling alley and compete and go play golf. And these guys can have all kinds of fun. But Brandon Baker's a young guy that can step up. Raleigh Brown, another young guy that can step up. And on defense, I'm really impressed with Hero Canoe.
Yeah.
Just his personality and Jelani McDonald, Colin Simmons, those guys are knowns. And then you've got the Rasheem Biles. He's like Cam. Can he come in from Pittsburgh as a linebacker at a position of need, and can he be a leader on this team as a new guy? And Vince can tell you when you're coming in from out of town, you better get everybody's attention.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're all watching. Why'd you leave your team? Can you be a great leader by transferring and leaving your team? I don't know.
And Coach and Bob, and I want our followers to know that, we're not here bashing the guys. They actually been doing a good job, Arch and
Yes.
Simmons and the guys.
Absolutely.
They all been vocal and been leaders and been stepping up. So I just want to say to commend to them that they have been doing it, and we have been seeing it, man, Coach Brown at the practices. And it's a great thing. We just want to make sure that they hear these different points to, things that can help them be even more, especially in the bonding part of it.
And
Absolutely.
the coaches won't be around as much this summer. So these guys are Ty Anthony Smith, Lance Jackson.
Yeah.
All these guys are so important because they're coaching their team when the coach isn't standing there. And that's at the bar. That's it. There's absolutely no question. If one of our guys was drinking too much, Vince, a Casey Studdard, a David Thomas would walk over and say, hey, come on, let's go. It's time to go. Let's get out of here. And the respect that our players had for those guys, they would say, instead of leave me alone, you're not my older brother, you're not my father, they'd say, I got it. And then they'd take their keys away and drive them home.
And that's a vital thing when you have 110, 120 people in your program, because the coaches can't be there all the time to supervise. Right. It has to be player-led at some point. All right, when we come back, guys, we cannot wait for this interview, and I know you guys are on the edge of your seats as well, as we welcome in Longhorn legendary wide receiver Jordan Shipley to the show. That's coming up next. This is The Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns. Back after this. Texas has some of the highest property taxes in the country, and if you're a property owner like we are, you know it hits harder than a blindside sack. That's why every winning season starts with the right playbook. When it comes to lowering your property taxes, Texas Pro Tax has been calling winning plays for 38 seasons. They're the #1 defense against soaring tax bills, the kind of defense that stuffs rising values at the line and sends them back to the locker room.
Do your homework before you just let any firm suit up for you. I've looked at the stats, and Texas Pro Tax doesn't just win, they dominate.
We're talking big gains, deep passes, and the kind of tax-saving drives that make your wallet do a victory dance. While the other firms are warming the bench, Texas Pro Tax is driving the field, breaking tackles, and putting up game-changing Texas-sized tax savings.
Stampede listeners, your minimum fee is waived. No flags, no fumbles.
Visit TexasProTax.com, sign up and enter code STAMPEDE to join the winning team, and finally put your property taxes on the bench. Welcome back to The Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns alongside Longhorn legends Mack Brown and Vince Young. I'm Bob Ballou, and we are so excited to welcome in another Longhorn legend to the podcast this week. He was an absolute legend on those 08 and 09 teams. I mean, Jordan, you were here like 15 years. You played forever at Texas. But you've been through so much in the last 4 months too. And I know this is the first time you're talking publicly since everything went on. We are so excited to welcome to the podcast today, Jordan Shipley. Jordan, how you doing, man?
Hey guys, I'm doing great. It's great to be with y'all. Thanks for having me on today.
We're going to get into...
Hey, Slowpoke.
Yeah, that Slowpoke ran about 4.3 at the combine.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Well, it's true today. It's funny. I was talking to a kid yesterday, and they were, his parents said something about, I was like, that kid didn't watch me play. That was 20 years ago now. Crazy.
Everybody's getting older. It's weird how that works.
When somebody says, "Oh, I love that national championship game," I said, "How old were you?" They said 2. I said, "Yeah, well, you've seen it.
Yeah,
you've seen it, but you didn't love it.
You didn't live it.
No,
that's right. No, only you guys got to live the dream, right?
That's exactly right.
Jordan, thank you so much for taking the time. We do want to get into everything that happened back in January, and we will. But I know there's so much excitement around you just being on the podcast, talking a little football with Mac and Vince. When to get this opportunity to just talk a little football with two of the guys that you played, obviously played alongside, and Mac coached you. What does it mean to you to have this opportunity?
Oh, this is, these 2 guys I can't, speak highly enough about. They're probably, they're definitely my 2 favorite people, along with a few others that, I had the privilege of being around at UT, and so just, 2 absolute legends, and I don't get to see him much anymore. I've seen Coach Brown once or twice lately, but, I hadn't got to see Vince in a while, so this will be fun.
Well, Jordan, we're talking about leadership today into spring practice, leadership committee, who steps up. I had dinner with Michael Huff on Monday at the National Football Foundation Hall of Fame for the Greater Chapter here in Austin. And he obviously just went in the Hall of Fame. And they asked him, Craig Way asked him a question. How about you as a leader? How can you be a quiet leader? And he said, well, Vince was a more emotional, aggressive, passionate leader than I was, but I led because I did things right. And you were a great leader. Tell people out there how you can be a leader without being a loud guy, a guy that talks a lot, and a guy that tries to stir things up.
Yeah, I think you need both, really. And from a quarterback position, I think that's definitely a position where you want somebody that's more vocal. And it was fun for me to get to come in as a freshman, and that would have been, I guess, Vince's junior year or second to last year. And so, man, to get to step into watching somebody lead like that, it was a fun experience. But I think you've got, you'll have 1 or 2 guys on offense that need to be very vocal, and 1 or 2 guys on defense, and then you've got guys that need to just show up and do their thing and just be reliable. And I think for me it was always kind of like, I think my dad and my granddad just harped on me like, hey, you don't just let your actions speak and show up and do the right things and let people see it. And if they saw it and heard it from Vince, but I think it's important for them to see it first. And so that's kind of what I tried to do. I don't think it was necessarily my role to be the big vocal guy on the team, but just showing up, being at workouts on time, and doing the right things, and 7-on-7, and just being consistent. I think, from a leadership standpoint, is one of the main things you can do.
Yeah.
And
Because
Jordan, I
because
know
when we
parent.
did
Well,
when
yeah,
we
go
did
ahead, Vince.
show at practice that one time I threw you the go route and the fans was there and we was like, "Oh, Nelly, we I'm gonna be throwing some go routes to shit." I was so
Yeah.
excited. I was so excited. And then you had the hamstring injury, so I didn't get a chance to I have an opportunity to get the ball to you. What Colt did, so I envious a little bit against Colt because he got a
Yeah.
chance to get you the ball more than me. But it was always good to see you out there. And he's right. He's right. One thing about Ship, he is definitely consistent. He is definitely consistent about being on time at workouts, being the first guy there. He's definitely considered one of the guys that was always consistent. So I just want to say respect to you, Ship, for being a leader and leading those guys in that receiver room as well as other guys around you as well.
And Jordan, we had such high expectations for you, and there were so many setbacks. And for young people out there that tear an ACL or pull a hamstring, or first tell our listeners how many things you had happen to you, and then talk to us about how you had the faith, the strength, and the will to overcome them.
Yeah, yeah, it wasn't a super smooth road, I guess, showing up. We had lost Roy Williams and BJ Johnson and Sloan Thomas the year before, so that wide receiver room was kind of wide open when I showed up, and so and I was pumped to get the chance to come play with Vince and those guys, and so showed up, and I think, coach, you kind of told me early on, like, hey, you need to be ready to play, and I came in and tore my ACL, I think the second week of two days first year, and so that was kind of an easy, just you need a red shirt, obviously, and come back the second year. And so rehabbed and did all that stuff. And that was the 2004 Rose Bowl year where, obviously Vince, every time at the Rose Bowl, he did the craziest stuff ever. But so that was the first Rose Bowl year, and then came back the second year and kind of earned my way back to I think a starting role, and then came in and pulled my hamstring and in the second week of two days again, and then that second week of two days just got me. But kept trying to come back and kept trying to come back, and every 2 or 3 weeks. And then by the time they finally figured out I needed a knee surgery to fix the previous deal. And by the time I was healthy, it was already basically November, and that was the 2005 national championship year. And I think it worked out great for everybody. Obviously, Vince, y'all didn't need me that year. That was unbelievable to get to see the way Vince led that team, and coach, obviously the way you led that team. And so from there, it was kind of one of those things where, all right, we'll believe it when we see it, and the guy's missed 2 years in a row, and he's going to have to earn his way back into the lineup. And so that's kind of what happened. It was a slow road from there, but finally got back. I think actually at one point in time, coach, you actually said, hey, if I know it's been a rough couple of years, if you want to just go to school and don't worry about the football thing, and obviously that was not my plan, but that's how bad it was at one point in time. So.
Yeah.
But Jordan, to that point, you had those first 2 years of going through all of those things. Can you speak to the lessons that you learned then? Because there's so many young kids who tear an ACL and it feels like the end of the world to them. You had to go through it for 2 years, but what it ended up doing was giving you an amazing 4-year run, with Colt at quarterback and the rest of those guys, and going to the national championship game. Can you speak to how you were able to find the patience to go through that and then be able to have the career that you had?
Yeah, I think the faith was a big part of it. Just knowing that, God has a plan, and that I don't always get to pick what that plan is or the timing of it. And I think that was probably the biggest part, is just trusting that, if you show up and just can only control, that became my focus, was basically just only control the things that you can control, and everything else you can't control, and you've got to have faith for. So once I started kind of doing that and just taking the outcomes out of the equation for me, and just showing up every day, and obviously I just lived in the training room until I got back on the field again. And then it was kind of like, I had to just work my way back into the roles, because there were some guys, Billy Pittman and a couple of those guys, kind of had established themselves over those 2 years while I was out. And so it was just, that was the biggest thing, though, I think, was just mostly trying to focus on the things I could control, and letting go of the rest of everything, and knowing that at some point down the road it would work out, and thankfully it did.
Yeah, and then that's when the big 96-yard return in Oklahoma, baby.
That came
Yeah.
Absolutely.
that came at
So
some point. Yep.
yeah, so tell our fans, about that rivalry game, how it feels to play in a game like that. I know a lot of our fans would love to hear that from you.
Yeah, well, I think my first experience, I come in as a recruit and watching that game, and watching you come in as a freshman and play, that was just one of those moments where, like, wow, like I knew this was a big deal, but I didn't know, like, this game is different than every other game, and the way they have it divided, crimson on one side, burnt orange on the other side, and they're just, if you're on that line, there's fist fights breaking out, like it's
Especially the night before.
yeah.
Yeah. Hospital visits.
Yeah, I mean, there's been,
And Jordan,
you
you
name it.
played against A&M and against Oklahoma, and everybody asked, which is the biggest rivalry? And you grew up with a lot of Aggies. What would you say to people about those two games?
I think from our standpoint, I think it was definitely OU. At the time, I don't know, it just felt like A&M hates Texas with this passion that is just unexplainable, and Texas is just kind of like, yeah, we don't really, like, we'll show up and play, but we're not going to think about it all year long, like y'all are.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
we were beating
Is
them. We were beating them most of the time,
is
so
Steve,
that
yeah,
that happens.
yeah,
is
that
Stephen
helped.
McGee going to be mad at you for saying that?
Probably, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That was funny. Like, I was thinking about this morning. My quarterback in high school, Stephen McGee, he was a great quarterback, and we split. He goes to A&M, and I go to Texas, and so I was I was bummed about that a little bit. Obviously, I knew I was going to get to play with Vince for a while, which that actually didn't end up working out. But it was just funny the way the world works, and Colt ends up showing up, and so I didn't get to play with Stephen, but I got to play with Colt, who was a friend since the time I was a little kid. So it was a really kind of funny the way, and that's actually a little bit of a funny story. I remember Coach, you actually asked me, because I came out a year before Colt from high school, and Coach he's like, hey, what do you think? You think he can play? Because he came from this tiny little 2A town,
Okay.
and he was 170 pounds, and I was like,
He
yeah, I
really
think he can
was.
play. And
Not
no,
very
I was
highly
like, well,
recruited.
yeah, he'd be a good guy to have there, at least if nothing else. And man, I mean, talk about some shoes to fill coming in after. I mean, you got to think he was scared to death coming in and watching dance and like knowing that I got to come into that, pretty crazy.
I remember Greg
And he
Davis said
handled it
one
well.
time that from Colt's house, you had to come back in toward Austin to hunt. He was that far out, so
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
that country.
yep.
Well,
He was out there.
Jordan, we all prayed and heard about your accident earlier in the year, and take us through that because so many people were just concerned and reached out. I know your phone got burned, so you couldn't even answer while you were going through the tragic moment. Talk to us about it, so our listeners will know what happened, how you handled it, and where you are today with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of a long story, but I'll make it as quick as I can, basically. So, we had
You take your time.
yeah, there were and yeah, that's right. So I lost my phone for several and didn't get it back until I got out, which, was a while later. And so I missed all the messages from that time period until I got a new phone. And so I know there was tons of people reaching out even afterwards, and we were just so thankful and appreciative of that. But basically we had a fire at a ranch property that kind of just unexpectedly spread and got close to the neighbor's fence line. And it was not an area where there was any phone service or anything, so we couldn't call. It was basically like had to do something right then, or the fire was going to get to this property, which was just basically a overgrown kind of tinderbox that if it would have got there, it would have really been out of control. And so I had a piece of equipment out there that I went and once I realized what was happening, I grabbed that and got around and tried to kind of make a little fire break and cut it off. And it was a real steep area, and when I did that, I kinda got it enough to where as much as I could do before the fire got to me, and then I tried to turn the machine around and get out, and the tracks came off of the, skid steer, and
Mm.
so, that means basically I'm not going anywhere. And, the weird thing was that the door, so I knew I lost the machine at that point, but the weird thing was the door wouldn't open. So I go to try to get out, and the door's stuck. And so
Mm,
you wanna talk about, scared. There was about 30 seconds
man,
there where I'm just like, what I do? This fire is almost to me. It's almost to the engine, and so I'm shaking and praying and shaking the door as hard as I can, and trying to open it and just praying and screaming. And then the only thing I could think to do is basically to turn the machine back around and started sliding back into the fire burned up from some lower country up this steep embankment. And so the only thing I could think to do is to turn the machine back and see if I could crash it to the bottom. And I started to do that, but with the tracks being off the rollers the way it was, it wouldn't go the way I needed to go, and it was kinda take me off a cliff. So I slid back into the fire probably 10 or 12 feet and realized I was about to kinda go off a cliff. And so I just for some reason I checked the door again, and that time I shook it and got it to open. And so the only thing at that point I could really do was because the machine was basically stranded right there, and so I had to jump out and run down through where the fire had already kinda burned up through. And
mm,
and just, smoky. And so I kinda just I'm sure I crashed my way to the bottom, and that's why my hands got burned the way they did. But got to the bottom, and you know obviously very thankful to be alive, and look down. I'm like, oh man, I've got to get to the hospital. So I had about a 40 or 45-minute walk or hike basically back to where my truck was parked. And then
wow.
I had to go drive. The crazy thing was the big ramps were down on the trailer, that machine was on. So I didn't have any skin on my hands, but I had to put the ramps back up on the trailer so I could drive. And drove about 10 miles and found a guy that was working, that was one of our guys that was running equipment. And, he jumped out and got in my truck and drove me to town to the hospital. And, it was about the time we got there, my body started kinda going into shock, and, they star flighted me to Austin. And, it was just a crazy deal. So from there, they pretty much said, "You're gonna be here for 3 months," and grafts on everything. And, within the word started getting out, and everybody just started praying about it. And then all of a sudden, it just, after a few days, I had a procedure that was supposed to take about an hour and a half, and the surgeon comes in there and about 10 minutes and into the hospital room and tells Sonny, of course, I'm still knocked out. And in street clothes, and she's like, "What?" And he said, "Well, he said, I don't." Basically, what he said was, "I don't know what kind of prayers you people are praying, but." He said, if I was betting on this, I would have lost a lot of money. And he said, I don't think he's going to have any grafts, and he can go home as soon as feels like he's ready to go home. So then it ended up being, yeah, from 3 months to about 8 or 9 days in ICU. And I think I was out of there in 11 or 12 days. So,
And there were so many people praying for you, Jordan. And there was a prayer vigil at Airy Mount, the coffee shop that you guys created. How much, when you were in the hospital, how much were they telling you? How much was Sonny telling you? You know, how was it working where here's what's going on the outside. Here are the number of people that are praying for you. And then for you, with all the pain that you were in, you know, how were you able to maybe take some of that as encouragement?
oh, it was, I mean, it blew us away. It was unbelievable, just the way it got. I mean, we were hearing like there's people overseas that are, there's news stories like it kind of for a few days there, it was like in international news, which was just crazy. But the amount of prayer was what was just. I mean, we were getting letters from school. Kids at classes were writing notes, and all the kids were just sending stuff, and people sent all kinds of stuff to the house. We had people sending the Nolan Ryan Foundation sent us a hyperbaric chamber to use for a few months, and I mean, it was just it blew us away. So it was one of those deals when I finally got out and got around, I was just so thankful for everybody because I had people that I would not have thought would have ever been praying they told me like I was literally on my knees praying about this. And so to see stuff like that and have some of those kind of conversations, it almost made it go from being a really, it was a tragic, it was a bad thing, but it almost now looking back on it feels like a blessing in some ways.
And how
Man.
are you today?
I'm good. Yeah, you probably wouldn't even be able to really you can't even really see some of the burns. Everything's kind of turned back to a normal. Wow, it looks really good on there. My 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 legs my legs are gonna take a while. They're still pretty red and pretty just I think the blood flow is not as good down there, circulation. So they told me my ankles would be the last thing that really kind of healed up. But it's been, I guess, almost, yeah, today, 4 months to the day today. So it was January 5th.
Gosh.
Um,
Mm.
so
Well, and Jordan, I felt like I heard you say that when you're walking through the fire, you're falling because there's some rocks and it is a pretty tough terrain, and you would fall and your hands would go into the ground, into the fire. So it would actually burn the skin on your palms. So the fact that you could even get out of there
yeah,
is just
well,
unbelievable.
it was a
Man,
mad
ball.
scramble. I opened that thing up and it was like fast as I can get to the bottom. I just was, crashed my way down because that was not the hottest part of the fire anymore because it had already kind of burned up through there. And the flames up at the top where the machine was initially before I crashed back through it was probably 8 or 10 foot flames or more. But it was, yeah, I mean, it was just kind of a mad scramble to get to the bottom. And it was just kind of one of those things like, you don't really have if you don't have a choice at that point, it's kind of just like you got to try to survive. And I'm just thankful that, um, it just felt like a miracle basically that the door opened because if it wouldn't have, by the way, okay, a couple other things that were crazy about it. So as I was hiking back, I heard the machine blow up really not long after I got out
Oh,
of it.
wow.
And so, yeah, the
Mm.
whole thing was like the only thing left on my phone was some sheets of glass. It was like 3 or 4 and it looks kinda crazy when you see what these things are made of, but, um, that was it. I mean, the whole machine was basically just it was totally toast, and then the other crazy thing that happened that morning, for some reason, I don't know why, but my oldest son was 5, he's just turned 6, but he was asking me on the way to school all the whole way, "Dad, when are you gonna go to heaven?" And, I was like, "Well, son, I have no idea, but
Oh,
hopefully not until
10:30.
hopefully, yeah, not till you're big and I'm old,
yeah.
But I mean, he was just for some reason that day, that morning, he was, "Well, who's gonna take care of me if something happens?" And just all the way to school, and so, like, that whole hike back, that's all I could think about was like, "Man, it almost was today." And, so
Oh,
I better, take every moment I can get with them now and just I think it's changed everything about the way I think about time and work life balance and just all that because man you don't know. I mean, it can literally happen at any time. And also, if he ever does it again, I'm going home and sitting on the couch. I know
Yeah, yeah.
that.
Say, "Not today, brother."
Not
Yeah.
That
today.
is it.
Yep,
What
going home.
Jordan, you're it's such a miracle. This whole thing
It's a
is such a
miracle. Oh
miracle.
my God.
You know, you spoke. I was at a luncheon, a toolbox luncheon, you know, in September of 2023, and you spoke. And I've gone back and listened to that particular luncheon where you spoke. We have a clip of it that I want to play for you, and then I want to say one thing and just get your reaction to it.
Favorite scripture and kind of something that you can stand on. Like through that time for me, it was Romans 8:28, I think, and with God working together, all things for good for those who love Him and are called according to His purpose. And it's like, man, sometimes it's like all things, you know, because this doesn't feel like this is working together for good, you know. But even that's a major, you know, thing as far as just being able to cling to that and cling to that faith of like, all right, I'm going to trust and I'm going to have faith even though it doesn't look good, and then it doesn't look good again, and then, you know, it doesn't look good again. I'm going to hold on and I'm going to hold on and I'm going to fight and I'm going to wait. And sure enough, I ended up with Colt for 4 years, so it worked out.
So you're talking about Colt there, obviously, but if you go back and listen to what you said in that luncheon, it was almost like you were telling yourself how you were going to survive this. And everything that you had done and built up in your faith was how you were going to survive this. When you hear that clip and you think about even the hike back, the 45-minute hike back, and being in the hospital and all those things, the faith that you have, how did that drive you through this?
Yeah, I think that was everything. It was just basically programming, you know. When you have to learn how to overcome things and how to just, you know, wait when you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. You know, you can it's just it can get you through almost anything as long as you know that this is going to come together for good somehow. Even though I don't understand it right now, even though I can't see it right now. Um, I think I've just gotten to a point where I know that's the way God works, and I know that's the way that I've every time that I've been able to wait patiently and see Him weave this thing together. It always ends up being for good, and a lot of times it's the things that aren't fun to go through at the time that end up bearing the most fruit in our lives if we will just stay faithful and let them.
Man.
Amen. Well, you
Amen.
were on a team with Vince that won a national championship. You were on a team with Colt that played for a national championship, and if he hadn't got hurt on the 5th play of the game, would have won another national championship.
Absolutely. Yep.
Right.
And all of those guys were on text chains praying for you, and it was so cool to see your team this many years later, 20 years later, 15 years later, still that close. And Vince and I have talked a lot about we're losing that some now with transfer portal, and it's not going to be the same going forward. But we also had Tech fans, A&M fans,
Oh.
we had Baylor fans, we had everybody pulling for you, which is such a credit to you. Um, how cool was it to play on a team and 2 national champions? That's never happened before, probably with many people. And you had the Vince talked about the kickoff return to OU. I think that changed that game. They were
Yeah.
number 1, we were 5, and we were in trouble. We were down by 10 or something. You came back and I said, "Okay, we're good." And then we came back and won the game without question. The block that Quan had, which I thought you scored. I'm still mad about them calling that 6 inches
Yeah, me
short
too.
on that one. And then you had an well, you had a punt return against Tech. You did so many things to help Texas football win. How was it playing in the Alabama game? You had a great game. 3 minutes left. We're down by 3 with a chance to win with Garrett Gilbert, a freshman quarterback. Some people criticized Colt, said he should have played. You saw him try to throw at halftime. He couldn't lift his shoulder. So that was not a factor. So talk to us about being at 2 national championship games.
Yeah, you know, it was interesting. It was like there was something pulling us to the Rose Bowl because you know the year before too with Michigan 2004.
No, that's true.
So I watched that one, but I got to be a part of all that. So yeah, I mean it was. I think it was. I wish we would have gotten to play that game, obviously with Colt, we had been there before and seen it because Colt was there as a redshirt freshman, and so we saw the way that Vince and all these guys came in and played at the highest in the highest stakes against one of the best teams in history, and showed up and just like would not just wouldn't lose. And so I think we had seen that, and they set a pattern for us to follow, and it was just one of those crazy deals that like it just wasn't meant to be, I guess, because I have no question in my mind. I think even Greg McElroy ended up saying later on, like, "Hey, I don't, yeah, if Colt wouldn't have been, if he wouldn't have got hurt,
Yeah.
I don't know how that would have turned out." But or actually, I know how it would have turned out, uh, but yeah, that was I mean, still, and give Garrett credit for coming in and playing as a true. I mean, how crazy is that to come in as a true freshman and playing a game like that? But and we just, man, some great times and great experiences, and we got to be a part of that run just with all those 10-win seasons in a row, and just a period of college football that coach you put together that was and I agree too. It's a little different now with the transfer portal and some of the things that are going on with NIL and all that. But those were, to me, that was one of the best times to have played in college football, was that era, and got to be a part of some big moments, and it was a lot of fun. It was something I'll remember forever.
Yeah.
Jordan,
You
last thing from me. You're the commissioner of college football. Your dad's a coach. Your brother played with you and in the NFL like you did. What would you change?
Um, I don't know. I would as far as college football goes.
Yes. If you were today, what, and you're a parent because your kids are going to be players at some point.
Yep.
What would we had a wonderful time. We should have paid you and Vince. Vince said he'd still be playing if we had NIL.
Yeah.
So he wouldn't have quit, but you all would have
Yep.
made a whole lot of money, and that would have been fair. So we messed it up as leaders in college football because we didn't pay the guys. But now there's no cap. Now I saw where Kyle Whittingham said there's some teams going to have a $50 million roster cap with what they're doing, and it keeps going up, so it's unsustainable. In the transfer thing, you had all those troubles. If it'd been so easy to transfer, you might have transferred. Vince had talked about he got mad one day and he might have transferred. So it wasn't easy back then. You
Yeah.
had to stay and you had to fight through things, and now it's so easy to transfer. It just seems like there's some things that we need to tweak to get back to some reality here.
Yeah, well, I think the genie has kind of been let out of the bottle, and getting it back in is I don't know if that could ever happen, but just my opinion of the way I think would have been the best route is if they could have given the guys like a decent normal work salary, because you're basically working a job. You're there
Yeah.
from 5:30 to 8 o'clock, and then you're in class from 8 to whatever, and then you're up there till 8 or 9 at night, and you're traveling on the weekends and getting home, all hours in the morning on Sunday, and then up there all day on Sunday. So I think if they'd have paid the guys just a normal salary, I think there probably would have never been the catalyst to spark some of the change that's been there. Not that it's, you have mixed feelings too, because it's life changing for some of the guys in some ways too. But I think that's what I would have said if you told me, "Hey, you're the commissioner, you pick what's happening." I would have said, "Let's pay the guys like a normal work salary, where they get something for their efforts." And then on the transfer portal side, that's really the thing that because you might get stuck behind a Vince Young and Heisman Trophy guy, and you got to figure out, like, should I stay here or should I go? I mean, I think it makes sense for some players to transfer one time in certain situations, but I also think now it's to a point where, like, some of these guys will go transfer 5, 6 times, and just to go experience different places and all that. You can transfer in conference, and I think it just teaches. It doesn't teach the grittiness of, like, hey, I gotta figure this out one way or the other. If I got to be up there, and spend an extra hour in the weight room a day or whatever I gotta do, I gotta figure out how to make this work. And I think some of that stick to itiveness and that grittiness has been lost because they made it too easy to just pack up and leave.
Yeah, Joe Burrow was a third team quarterback at Ohio State, ends up going to LSU and winning the Heisman. So that's fair.
Yeah.
And I think
Right.
you're right, Jordan. What I would have done in looking back is give a stipend to each of the scholarships so you have a lot more money in the scholarship. So it's not money, it's not a salary, it's within the legal realms of a scholarship. And
Yeah.
then when you graduated, give each of the guys that graduate, to give them a reward and encourage them to graduate, give them
Yeah.
$150,000 and
Yeah.
start your
Good deal.
life.
Yeah.
And then we wouldn't be in the shape we're in today.
Yep,
Vince?
absolutely. Yep.
Sure.
Vince, you got anything else for Jordan?
Vince has been great on this stuff too. Vince has had a real voice for the players
Oh, he
and a
has.
real voice for what college football is. Some of the stuff you said, Jordan, Vince has said some of those similar things too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for the last thing for me is just talk about the chemistry and the bonding part from the standpoint of what you say, that brotherhood, right? Just, talk more about that and the importance of that. One of the things Coach Brown told us, don't let this be our only memory was winning a championship. But I really felt like we won a championship because we actually gave a damn about each other as
Yeah.
brothers. So talk more about that, how you are with Colt, and just period about your teammates, and especially right now, since we all old with kids now, how the chemistry is still there.
Yeah.
Easy on the old. You're
Yes, I
older.
am.
Yeah, easy on the old.
Yeah, I think that's one people always ask about the difference between the NFL and college football. And obviously, I didn't play super long in the NFL. I think I made it 3.5 or 4 years, but was beat up when I got there. But that's one thing I remember was like, you just don't have people are coming in and out, and like you look up and the guy next to you, like where'd he go? Well, he's been gone for a week, and new guys coming in. And at the college level, man, you just especially at that time when people weren't transferring in and out like crazy, you just show up with the guys that you show up with, and it's like, hey, you got to form this bond. And obviously, it helps that everybody doesn't have families yet, so you are each other's family at that point. And it does create a bond where like now, I mean, I think any of the guys that we played with, if you see them, it just takes a minute to get back to that, relationship of the way things were. And obviously things are different because you got kids and all that kind of stuff. But it's definitely a bond and a brotherhood that once it's there, it never goes away. And
Right.
that's been fun to get to see and talk to some of the guys recently for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And Jordan, I will say that Vince whines all the time about you not being able to play with your speed. And when we were in that Michigan and USC, man, if I'd have had Ship,
He
Yeah.
talks about
He
it all
could-
the
he
time.
could
He
fly.
does.
Y'all finna
he
hear
really
it
Talks about it
does.
all the
forever.
time.
he
Y'all
he
gonna hear it
does.
forever.
He,
I
he
wanted to
whines
throw-
about his receivers. They
I
were
wanted to
young.
throw a
They were
post route
inexperienced.
so bad to this guy. Oh my
Yeah.
God, I wanted to throw a post route to him. I'm so bad.
Jordan, before we let you go, I want to relive one more memory because Mac brought up and Vince brought up so many good memories of things that you did. If you watch a Texas football game now, usually if it's an interception, if Michael Taft picks off a pass, they run down and they all celebrate where Bevo is.
Yep.
But there's a fence up now where Bevo is. And I think that's your fault, if I remember correctly. You almost took Bevo out. What were you thinking when you had that punt return for a touchdown?
Well, there was no thinking involved. I just,
No thinking.
it was a short punt, so I caught I think I caught the punt around midfield or something,
Yeah.
and just kind of broke away, and there was some guys that kind of had an angle, so I was, by the time when I hit the end zone, I was still full speed, and so in the moment, all of a sudden, I just like I kind of dodge a couple people, and then look up, and all of a sudden, I hop the rope, and I'm like, oh, that's Bevo, like kind of tapped his horn.
Right in your face.
Yeah, I don't think he loved that probably, but yeah, probably a good idea that they built a fence after that.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you've done so much for Texas football,
The ship
and I think
fence.
the ship fence.
Yep.
The ship fence. But you've done so much for Texas football, and we were all praying for you, and we are all so glad that you are back to being healthy and where you are right now. And we can't thank you enough for taking the time to take us through what happened and spend a little time with Vince and Mac talking Texas football. Thank you so much, Jordan Shipley, for your time today.
Love you, brother.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Ship. Love you, man.
Yep,
Proud
love
of
you
you, man.
guys,
Keep
yep.
up the great work, man. Keep up the great work,
Yes,
man.
you
Proud
too.
of you, brother.
Go sell a
Thank y'all
ranch.
for having me. Yeah, I will.
Thank
I'll go
you.
try it.
Go sell the ranch. Hey, we've got more college football to talk when we come back. This is the Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns. We're back after this. Welcome back to the Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns. It is now time for our segment, Texas Pro Tax Pros. When it comes to lowering your property taxes, Texas Pro Tax has been delivering winning plays for 38 seasons. And as a Stampede listener, when you sign up for Texas Pro Tax, your minimum fee will be waived. Just visit TexasProTax.com, sign up, and enter the code STAMPEDE to join the winning team and put your property taxes on the bench. All right, the NFL draft has passed. We talked a lot about it last week. Vince gave us some great insight into what it was like the day of. But Vince, let's get into a little bit of what it's like the days after, because you talked last week about you get to the facility, they're showing you around, you do all that stuff, but then you actually get to practice. You get to start going at it with your team. What are these days like after everything kind of starts to settle down a little bit and you start to get in a groove of, okay, now I'm in Nashville. I'm here.
Yeah.
Let's get this stuff going. Like, what are those days kind of like?
Yeah, now he's just trying to get structure and then get in the routine, like how the veteran guys how they practice. So we get introduced to everything that they would do for a day. If it's from getting there in the morning, you got breakfast, sometimes weights, get your weights out the way, and then you head out straight to meetings. You have your offensive meeting, your defensive meetings. You're going over just about everything that what you finna do for the day, calling plays and getting structured when we get to practice. Individual drills is over here, quarterbacks over here, just kind of getting structure of how everything goes. And then from there, you just kind of just competing and, you know, having fun. And guys, actually, you're getting definitely watched by your coaches and, things like that. But you're also getting introduced to everyone from the coaching staff to the people upstairs that's handling all the business. You're just starting to get in the field the same comfortable way that you were at your university. Now you're doing the same thing with the organization and just becoming a pro player and being professional and understanding the routine, the structure, how these guys do it when the veterans get there.
It's interesting. We talked about Texas bringing in 43, 44 new players this offseason from the transfer portal and through recruiting class and all that kind of stuff. And the bonding that needs to take place quickly so that you become more of a team. How much of that is different on the NFL level? Because it's always felt like college is this time where you're all bonding, you're all together, and maybe the NFL is a little more individual. How do you get that bonding when it's a bunch of guys that are, in some ways more individual players?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you the biggest thing is don't nobody want you coming in and taking a job. So
Right. Yeah,
so this
absolutely.
is this is like way different from college because now you're getting paid now for one, and you're not finna let no rookie come in and take your job. I mean, if he can help and come in and help us win games, then yeah, that's a different story. So from my point, it's me kind of similar to I want to go earn guys respect. I don't want these guys looking at me because I'm a big draft pick. Yes, you about to get paid a lot of money if we a big draft pick, but in the same time, I want to show them that I'm a leader. I'm a pro. I'm a professional guy. I want to earn their respect. When coach get me in there, when I have opportunity to call some plays, I want to make sure I step into the huddle with confidence. Make sure I get everybody out of the huddle on time. I want to show that part of it. I already know I'm talented, but now I just want to show that I can be professional and get guys in and out of the huddle on time, be a leader, learning from the leaders, just walking around carrying myself as a pro, doing the same thing these guys and earning their respect. Because when you come in, they looking at you like who you is, little man. They looking at you like I don't give a shit about who you are. You gonna have to earn everything here. So
Yeah.
when you see that, that's what you want to show them. You want to earn everything from them, the respect of the veterans, because like I said, you got a guy that might be an MVP player on the team, like a Patrick Mahomes. You got to go in and show him, like, hey, I want to learn as much as I can from you. Can I call you? Can I talk to you? Can I ask you questions? What do we do on this day? When we traveling, what this and that? I want to learn as much as I can and eat up all that information because that will make it more easier in the transition from college to the pro level.
We talk about all the time about how the NFL is a business.
Yeah, buddy. Yes,
You
it
know it
is.
better than anybody.
Yes.
But is it I know this sounds dumb. Is it still fun? Like, is it still football or once you got there, did you realize like, man, this is not that it's not fun, but just it's a totally different deal than it was in college.
Well, yeah, it's fun in the off season. Right now, this is the fun stuff. Mini camp and working out as a team with your guys. Everybody's been gone. Now we back together. You get to see everyone. One of the things is I forgot to talk about what you asked last. You have a relationship with your team, but you really have more of a relationship with your position and your coach, your coach. That's pretty much how far it goes. If you build another relationship with some of the guys on the team that you might in the off season have like a family event that we all go together to hang out together, your wife and the kids, go to Bahamas maybe. And then the receivers you build a relationship with because you got to throw to them in the summertime. But in most of the time, guys are with their family, they're gone. You don't report until it's time to report. I mean, you got some guys like the quarterbacks and some of the DBs and different guys are kind of there year round because they're trying to get better or they live actually in the city. And
Right.
some of the veteran guys, some guys are still living in their own towns where they at. So they go back home and then they report when it's time to report. But most of the guys are just gone. So yeah, you having fun, and this is the off season that you time to have fun. But when the season start, it's none of that. We're trying to win a championship game, and let's do what we need. And the biggest thing you're going to continue to hear as a rookie and a younger guy is professional. Be professional.
Mhm.
If somebody says do this, do that, that's what it means, you know. And one of the things that I bumped my head a couple of times of being late, and one time on a plane I was late and got left. You know, it was me being a young, but I had a situation and then I was late and they left me. So the biggest thing is when I got to the game finally, it wasn't about knacking about what happened. It was about we still got a game to play. Can you be professional and still come out and lead us guys to a championship, which I did. We ended up beating the mess out the Eagles that day, but in the same time, you gotta be professional. So you're gonna continue to keep hearing that as a young guy.
That's really interesting, and I think that's an interesting point, you know, because in college, you're basically with your guys every day,
Every day.
all year for the most part. I
Yeah,
mean, you get
and
to
you
come
want
maybe
to. You want
and
to.
yeah, and you wanna be with everybody, and you're really not in the NFL. Was there something that maybe stood out that surprised you when you first got to mini camps and when you first got going in Nashville?
Uh Yeah, yeah, in a way, yeah, I would go back to the same thing, the professional stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it is totally different. It is a business. From 7 a.m. to 5 o'clock, it is a business. It is not that you have a like it's all about just us chilling over here, having a good time, like enjoying ourselves. It is a business for real. It's no time for no fun and games. It's just that you got hired by this organization and you finna go to work. And you have to know that as a player to take it as that, that this is a job and when we're off, guys are going home to their family and kids and things like that. I won't see that guy probably till tomorrow. And
Yeah.
then if you do have a relationship with some of the guys you do have a barbecue at the house and bring the family over, you have that bond with them. But that the main thing young people have to understand, rookies that's going in, this is professional. You're on a professional team and they're gonna treat you just like that. And you can't get in your feelings about how it used to be in college. You gotta understand this is a business. They expect you to be here on time, they expect you to be here, they expect you to do that. And that's what it is. And there's nothing else you're gonna do about it. You just gotta be professional. So
It's
I tell the
it's
young people, just make sure you're taking care of your responsibilities.
it's still fun, but it is definitely different,
Yes.
and it is a
It's
business when you
definitely
get
it's
to the
political and
NFL.
but Sundays, oh my God, that is the best part when you're going out there and going to war with your guys and then you get to see one of your teammates from Texas like across the way on the other team. You get to
Yeah.
talk some trash. Sundays or Monday night footballs or whatever days you play Thursday night, that's the fun part. But leading up to it is all about business and politics when you get in the practice time and everything else.
I don't know if we'll ever have a funnier one than when you said DJ was lined up across from you, and you were like, "DJ,
Yeah,
get
get
back. What are
back.
you doing?
Hey, hey, check, check,
You're
check,
not
check the
blitzing
light
me."
skinned guy with the big head right there.
There is no better way to end that segment. Win big savings on your property taxes with Texas Pro Tax. Sign up and use the code STAMPEDE at texasprotax.com. All right, Vince got me there. He
Yeah.
promised in episode number 1 he was gonna give me an ab workout, and he's doing it.
Oh, yeah.
That was really good stuff, Vince. I love it. Okay,
Vince has got all of us at one
I
point.
know.
So
I know. It's the
Laughing
way it
is good.
goes.
Laughing is good.
Laughing is always good, especially on Cinco de Mayo. Okay, so let's we're gonna get into the mailbag. We love that you guys are starting to send us your questions. You can send your questions anywhere on social media at the Stampede UT. These guys are gonna, whether they want to or not, they're gonna answer the really tough questions that you guys are asking. So this is a great one. We're gonna start with Larry G. Davis on Facebook. I love this question. Coach Brown, was there another career other than coaching that you considered, and if so, what was it?
Larry, I went to Vanderbilt and I wanted to be a lawyer. And then I found out you had to read so much. And I'm not supposed to say this as a coach and an educator, but I don't like to read. and that's not good. You should,
Okay.
but I don't. And then they told me you have to have 2 extra years of school after that. Well, I didn't even like school, so I mean, it was one of those that was tough. So then I thought I wanted to be David Letterman.
Oh,
I
really?
would love to
Okay.
have a show at night like this that I could just interview people.
Did you
It'd
ever
be
do
so
stand-up
cool.
comedy?
I did, but nobody listened.
I do.
And Vince does
Coach,
listen.
you are one of the funniest guys I know.
Well, and Sally laughed before we got married, and it just seems like now, yeah, I've heard that.
Right.
She's
So
not laughing at all.
Oh.
no, she's not laughing. Yep, that one's old.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep,
I
I
need
heard that
I need
one.
new stuff.
Yeah.
But that would be it.
Okay. Those I mean, there's still time.
There's still time.
There's still time. You want to
Oh,
become
yeah.
a lawyer or a stand-up comedian?
Yeah.
They're both out there for you.
Well, the lawyers kind of passed. I'm going to speak to the commencement of the law school this weekend on Saturday,
Oh, awesome.
but that'll be the closest I ever get to being a lawyer.
To being a lawyer. Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. Our guy CB, Chris Bennett on X. This question's for Vince. Vince, what did you learn from redshirting in 02, and what did you learn from watching Chris Sims? I honestly, we talk about it a lot on the show.
Yeah.
I don't know that people really remember that you redshirted and you were
Yeah,
on,
exactly.
other than us talking about it, but it really is an interesting dynamic that you got to learn from Chris Sims.
Yeah, thanks, Chris Bennett, for your question. Well, I did learn that I was actually pretty good as a redshirt quarterback, giving the defense problems. I did learn that. But overall,
Scout
what I
team
learned
nightmare.
is,
Yeah.
I learned how to be a quarterback at Texas following Chris Sims, because I really feel like he did a really good job at it. And even when they was calling him Chrissy, with some of the times he didn't play well, but he handled it so well. So I think, how to be a quarterback at Texas, I learned that really well from Chris and Smock and the guys, Applewhite as well. And I really feel like it helped me, and when I got into my redshirt year, to have a little bit more confidence in myself, how to carry myself, how to handle myself, how to be a leader for my teammates. I mean, it was really hard to sit back and not play because I always played when I was since Little League football all the way up to college. And when coach said, "Hey, you going to redshirt?" I was like, damn. But at the same time, I understood why, because, writing the plays down on the clipboard so you could understand the terminology of it, just understanding how to be a quarterback at the university, and had to take a step back and just start to see it. It really, shake me up for when it was my time to get out there and play. So it was a
Nice.
good red shirt. It was a great idea, Coach Brown. I'd give you that.
Thank you. Now, 20 years later, you didn't give it to me when I was talking about it. But Vince was in every meeting, every practice, traveled, heard the halftime adjustments, heard the pregame stuff. He heard everything, so he's so prepared. And Chris Sims probably would have redshirted, and Major hurt his knee. So it was hard for him to he wasn't ready to play the next year after he blew his knee out in the Arkansas Cotton Bowl game.
Yeah.
So it just it's amazing how many things behind the scene happen that people really don't understand.
So
All right.
you got to
Yeah.
respect the coaches at some time, right?
Yep.
They know what they're doing.
Well,
They know what they're doing.
people don't realize this, but the coaches have more information than anybody else.
No way.
I used to say decisions are harder for me because I know too much.
Hey,
I got all the information.
have you ever thought about just giving the media all the information? Then we could make our judgments too.
Yeah,
Make
and
fair
then
judgments.
you'd get sued, and then you'd have high school coaches turn on you, you'd have parents turn on you.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I mean, the media would turn on you no matter what.
Now
too, so
agents,
don't-
then the media would turn on me for giving the information up because how sorry is he to give us all that
Right.
information? So I got it.
Coach is betting now. He's giving.
Oh yeah, no,
All
it's,
kind of
uh,
stuff would have been in there.
yeah. I quit picking games with my grandson, so I'm not going to be better. And you all saw how good I was at
Right.
picking things, so
Oh, I
let's put
love
it
it.
that way.
Let's move on to Instagram and our third question
Okay.
quickly. No. The real Matthew Munoz wants to know, should the current Longhorns take dead aim at the national championship similar to the 2005 team? I think it's a good question in terms of, it's never, it's always hard to look at this as national championship or bust. You've got a great team. You're going to play, obviously going to the college football playoff, getting deep into the college football playoff is where they feel like they want to be. Things happen in football games. It's tough to win a national championship. There's been one here in the last 56 years. It's hard. But it does feel like this programs in a position to put itself in a position to play for a national
Yeah.
championship this year.
And I wouldn't.
Vince, there's
And
132
great question,
teams.
and
Yeah.
and let's correct it. We wasn't taking dead aim at the championship. We took dead aim each week at a team to get us to the championship. We always, Coach Brown always, even when we played Baylor and Rice, the games we were supposed to win. No, son. Don't y'all start thinking ahead. That's worry about what's in front of us. So Tech Dame aim was mostly each week to get to the championship. So we don't want our Texas guys right now, current players, to be thinking too far ahead. They got to think about what's in front of them right now.
And it's out there. You guys know it. I mean, you know what your the long-term goal is, but it is very vital that you stay focused. I mean, you guys have talked about how you're rooting for USC to beat Notre Dame because you wanted to play USC, but you have to get there still.
Yeah.
And that's
Exactly.
the most important part.
And that was an older team that had just beaten Michigan and won a Rose Bowl. So their goals were different. We're number 2 in the country, and number 1 was the other team. And there really weren't any other great teams that year. There's usually about 10 that can win it if they get lucky, especially with NIL money. But Vince is so right. We the poison cheese before the A&M game. I had little bears hanging from the lockers of each player before the Baylor game. Told them if they lost, they had to wear them on campus next week. So we had a different theme each week. That we put up a big N for Nebraska. Not today is what that N stands for, because you all are not going to beat us today.
Well, and Lincoln, they think the N stands for knowledge.
Yeah.
So there's the
there's a Missouri guy stepping up. All you Nebraska fans I love so much, he's a Missouri guy, so I'm not agreeing with him saying that.
Come on.
But I do think that it was unique in Vince's last year because we were different. And we waited till after the Oklahoma game, and then we started talking about SC. We never talked about it before that. We're talking about Ohio State. Then we're talking about Oklahoma State, then week to week, and then we had to beat Oklahoma. And then when we beat Oklahoma, it started another season. And we actually divided the season up into 4.
Yeah.
You had preseason, you had these 4 games, and then you'd have these 4. And each week you'd start over. And after the sequence of that season, okay, that one's done. Now let's start a new start and get it going. But all the great coaches would tell you, and the great players, you got to go through the process.
Yeah.
So saying you want to win a national championship, I'm taking dead aim at it, means nothing unless you are.
Yeah.
We've said it many times. Unless your habits meet your goals and dreams, change your habits. So right now, the habits and the process are much more important than saying you don't want to win the national championship. It's like saying I want to play in the NFL when I'm a kid. Yeah, everybody does.
Right.
It's like saying I'd love to be on the golf tour as a senior. Yeah, every senior would like to. So what am I doing? And that's the process. So the process is more important than the word. Show me. Show me. Do the little things you need to do to put yourself in a position to win each game. And when you do that, at the end, then you will have taken dead aim on the national championship.
Yeah.
And to add to that, Bob and Coach, and one of the things Coach was really good at was teaching us the emphasis of, like, what's it like? We wanted to be an overall good team as offense, defense, special teams, and a lot of the times the defense might play better. We played okay. Special teams did all right. We was always trying to get all 3 phases of the game. And Coach was really big on that. And when he said that, okay, especially with us on offense, when the defense played better than us, we felt really bad. Like, okay, we're going to show them next week. And then all of a sudden, offense played well, and then the defense didn't look too good, and then the special teams did well. So we was always trying to bring the emphasis of all 3 phases. So Coach always engraved that into our head. And just being a player, you're not going to be perfect, but in your mind, you like, let's get all 3 phases this week so we can get extra time off or something. He'll award us with something if we get all 3 phases. So he was really good at that, to engrave those type of things in our head, to make us work a little bit harder as well.
And Bob, I remember we'd play Rice, and I would say, congratulations. Winning is the goal, and that's what you did. Now, would this performance have beaten Oklahoma? No. Would this performance have beaten A&M? No. with this performance of beating USC? No. So is it what we want to get to? Did we live up to our standard? No. Congratulations. We won, but we won because we played a lesser opponent, not because we played up. So each week you needed to play to beat the best team you were going to play during the season. And that was the standard that was set.
And it's I think fans all think national championship. I can't wait for Oklahoma. Can't wait for A&M. Can't wait for Ohio State to come here. All those things. Tuesday, May 5th has to matter as much to the players as those days do.
It does.
Wednesday, May 6th has to matter as much to the players because those are the important days. Every day is important to get you to where you want to be to win a national championship.
And on my Monday dinner, I was with Casey Studdard and Michael Huff, and that team knows that Casey and Michael were saying the reason we were so good is we had to compete every day. And Vince says it all the time. When we were in the summer competing, we were competing against pro athletes on the other side. When we're in practice, our defense wanted to embarrass the offense, and the offense wanted to embarrass the defense. It was a game every day. And if you are in this game, very much like life, and you don't get up with an edge and compete every day, you're going to get behind. And those guys competed every day, and that's why they won the national championship, not because of a slogan.
Matthew, I hope you enjoyed that answer.
Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, Matthew.
Got deep into that. I love that.
Great question.
Before we go, you lost a dear friend in Mike Tolleson, and Vince. I know you know Tolly well as well. Can you guys just speak to who he was for our fans and kind of how much you'll miss him?
Vince.
Well, Coach Olive, for me, his energy. Coach can vouch for this. I've never seen a guy comes every day with energy and excitement to the point that his face turned red.
It really did.
So the days that Coach Brown and Coach David was like, hey, you can't come to practice with your head down, or you can't bring the energy every day. You can't not bring the energy every day because your team is looking at us. And one of the guys that used to motivate me was Coach Todd. His energy that he brought to that special team and his position, oh my God. Even when you walk and see him down the hallway, hey, Vince, hey, Vince. I mean, loud as hell. Let everybody know that he loves you and he got energy. So that's one thing I learned from him, and I'm going to truly miss was his energy and how he came every day to work with positive energy, not only just for the players, for the whole entire team, coaching staff, even our trainers, just everybody. He cared about the team and the energy that he brought. I picked that off of him to make sure that I brought that same, try to match that energy for the team as being a leader.
Yeah, he was one of those guys that Vince make a play. He'd be the first one to run and hug Vince and then tell his defensive lineman, play like him. Play like him, man. But you wanted to hire people you respect. You wanted to hire people you trust. You wanted to hire people you like. And you wanted to hire people who brought something special. And he was very knowledgeable as a defensive line coach. Most of his guys are in the NFL and just love him. Absolutely love him. But he'd have tough love. He'd be hard on them, but they loved him because they knew how much he loved them. We lost him too soon, and we lost a great man. So rest in peace, Tolly, and thank you for all you've done for all of us. And we'll have thoughts and prayers with you and your wonderful family.
I know those things are tough for you guys. Thank you for sharing that. And I think it's a great way to end the show, only because you guys get a chance to talk about somebody that you love and bring up some great memories of that.
Special forces forever, baby.
That's it. That's it.
This show has been run deep with emotion, to say the least. We always appreciate you guys joining us. This was a good one. I hope you get a chance to share it with your friends. Jordan Shipley coming on was fantastic. Just wonderful to hear that he's doing so well after everything that he went through, and fun to hear you guys tell some stories. So thank you guys, as always, for joining us for this edition of the Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns. For Vince Young and Mack Brown, I'm Bob Ballou. We'll see you next week.